Dear children, let us learn the second chapter in your biology syllabus, Control and Coordination. In this lesson, you are learning about the nervous system as well as glandular system. So in nervous system, you are learning about the brain, spinal cord and the nerves emerging from it. You have already learnt about the muscular tissues in your 9th standard. That will help you little in this lesson, and you are learning a new concept in this lesson, that is about the glandular system. So to begin with the lesson, let us know the importance of nervous system in the human body. So the nervous system sends messages. Control and coordination in human body is in fine connection with the muscular tissues comprising of the striated muscles, unstriated muscles and cardiac muscles, along with the nervous system consisting of the innumerable number of nerve cells or the neurons, which has been spread all over the body. So to begin with the lesson, let us know the importance of nervous system in the human body. So the nervous system sends messages to and away from the brain. The spinal cord plays an important role in the relay of messages. So in the absence of this system of control and coordination, our body will not be able to function properly. Here the functional and structural unit of a nervous system is called neuron or nerve cell. You are seeing the parts of the neuron here. Cyton or cell body, dendrites and axon. Cyton are the cell body. Then these are dendrites. And this is axon. You are learning a new word here.
When a person accidentally touches the hot flame, a pain-sensitive receptor cells in his fingertip detects the heat stimulus and triggers off the nerve impulse. From here, the impulse travels along the sensory nerve to the spinal cord. The message is processed and the response is generated in the spinal cord itself. Then this response travels down through the motor nerve to the muscles of the arm.
1.2 to 1.4 kilograms in weight.
The muscles of the arm receives the response,
only 2%
and his arm muscles contract, so the person takes away his fingers from the hot object.
By the whole body, only 20% of energy is consumed by the brain, as it works like a supercomputer. This important organ gets protected inside the skull called cranium. Brain consists of three important parts: forebrain, midbrain, and hindbrain. Different parts of the brain receives messages from different sense organs of the body and complete doing their work. Forebrain is the site for memory and our thinking power. Different parts are meant for speech, smell, sight, chewing, etc. It directs the messages to forelimbs and hind limbs to do various activities. Hindbrain helps in maintaining the posture and balancing of the body. So this part is called cerebellum. Medulla oblongata helps in breathing, pumping action of heart, digestion of food, so many functions. Midbrain is very small, helps in functioning of ear and eye, and it acts like a bridge between forebrain and hindbrain. Like this, all parts of the brain help in control and coordination of different functions of the body. Pons of the hindbrain and midbrain plays very important role in exchange of messages. Like this, all vital functions are monitored by brain and able to guide the human body in all emergency situations. You can see the parts of the brain like forebrain, cerebellum, medulla oblongata, midbrain, pons,
Learn about the functions of the parts of the neuron. Then dendrite, it carries impulses towards the cyton. Axon carries impulse from cyton to effector organs like muscles and glands. Dear students, in human body there are certain receptors and effectors. So what are receptors? Receptors are the organs like sense organs like ear, nose, tongue, eye and skin. Then effectors are examples muscles and glands. So receptors are sensory structures present all over the body, like it may be any organ, tissue or cells. The receptors are sensory structures present all over the body. They may be organs, tissues or cells. The receptors are either grouped in certain organs like eye or ear, or they may be scattered in case of skin. How do we detect that we are touching a hot object? So let us learn what happens if we touch a hot object. The receptors of skin sets off chemical reaction that creates an electrical impulse. This impulse travels from neurons to other cells and reaches the brain or spinal cord. Learning one phenomenon called reflex action. So what is reflex action? It is a sudden action with automatic response to a stimulus without the involvement of the brain. Reflex action is a quick automatic response to a stimulus without the involvement of brain. So here stimulus means any changes in the external environment. So in the external environment we have a flame. So here the person is touching the flame of a candle. So when he touches the flame, the nerves present in the skin receives the messages of that hotness and sends those signals to the spinal cord through this nerve fiber. So this nerve fiber, so from the tip of the finger along with the arm is entering into the spinal cord. So this spinal cord is a structure protected inside the backbone. So from the spinal cord, the nerve is emerging. Again, it is sent from this arm and tells directs the muscles to take back your hand because it is sensing that hotness. So you should not touch that hot object. So you suddenly take back your hand. So this sudden involuntary action is called reflex action. Then what is reflex arc? See, arc is somewhat a arch-like shaped structure. So the nerve coming from the skin entering into the spinal cord and it is reaching a muscle. So when you touch a flame, so you take back your hand with the help of the muscle. Here this is the receptor, this is the effector. So this nerve coming from the skin is called sensory neuron. Here this is integration center and this is called motor neuron. So this is the transverse section of the spinal cord. So the path that an impulse takes in a reflex action is called reflex arc. The path of the nerve which is going inside the spinal cord and coming out, this arch-shaped path of the nerve is called reflex arc. You can trace the sequence of events when a hot object is touched. So what happens for the first time? So heat or pain receptors in the skin, they will act at the first step, then sensory neuron, then relay neuron, then motor neuron, and the signals are passed to finally muscles in the arms. So you have learnt about this reflex action, and you are seeing a man walking. So what is the difference between this reflex action and walking? See, in this reflex action, there is an involvement of spinal cord, whereas in the walking, so there will be an involvement of the brain. Here, reflex action is a rapid automatic response.
Brain and the spinal cord are the two important parts of the nervous system. Brain makes all decisions at a speed of 268 miles per hour. So what is the function of spinal cord? Spinal cord is the only way through which the rest of our body is connected to our brain. It regulates and decides necessary actions to be carried out. When a person touches a hot object, the impulses are carried from the skin, which is the sense organ, and sent to the brain with the help of the spinal cord. Here the brain and spinal cord acts as the computer. The messages are carried with the help of long strand, which is like a fiber. With the help of that fiber, messages are sent to and fro from the brain to the receptors or effectors. We suddenly take back our hand as the brain suggests the hand to take back. So here we see a long strand like fibers. So that long strand, which is like a fiber, is called nerve fiber, which consists of innumerable number of small units called nerve cell or neuron. This long strand consists of innumerable number of small units called nerve cells or neurons. You can see a single neuron which is enlarged here. As you have learned about the different shapes of the cell, neuron has got a special type of shape. You can see the parts of the neuron here. It resembles as that of the structure of a tree. Inside the cell body, you find a nucleus. Cell membrane has got branches called dendrites. One of the branch has become elongated to form an axon. So axon ends with a nerve ending or axon terminals.
Stimulus. It does not involve any thinking. Here the message will not be sent to the brain. It involves only the spinal cord. Whereas in a phenomenon like walking is a voluntary action. So it is under our conscious control. Here the brain involvement is more. So let us identify the parts of the reflex arc. So this was a question asked in the previous 10th standard exam. So in that this question was asked to label the parts of the reflex arc. So what are the parts? So A, this is the sensory neuron. This is spinal cord. So C, this is the motor neuron. And D is the effector or the muscle in your arm. So nervous system consists of three important parts or units. The human nervous system consists of three components, namely central nervous system, peripheral nervous system and the autonomous nervous system. Let us come to study this central nervous system. Central nervous system consists of the brain and the spinal cord. You know about the brain. This is the backbone which in turn protects the very delicate structure called spinal cord inside that. So at the base of the brain, so there will be emerging of this backbone which is protecting the spinal cord inside that. So peripheral nervous system. So what is that? So the peripheral nervous system consists of nerves which are emerging from the brain and the spinal cord. Here from the brain 12 pairs of nerves are emerging out. Whereas in the spinal cord you can notice here 31 pairs of nerves are emerging which are supplied all over the body. Peripheral nervous system consists of cranial nerves. Cranial means the brain. So from the brain some nerves are arising. And the spinal nerves arising from the spinal cord. So let us learn the parts of the brain. So this is the structure of the brain. You are seeing the outer portion of this brain called the forebrain. Then this is the midbrain and this part is called the hindbrain. So brain receives information from all the parts of the body and integrates it. It is involved in the involuntary actions like writing, talking, etc. It sends messages to the muscles. The brain allows us to think and take actions based on that thinking. So let us learn the first part, that is forebrain. So what are the functions of forebrain? So the forebrain is the main thinking part of the brain. It has regions which receive sensory impulses from various receptors. It has separate areas for hearing, smell, sight, etc. We will see later in this diagram. We are seeing different colored portions of the forebrain. Here the red portion is denoting, or the red portion of the brain is meant for our thought process, memory and behavior. Here the blue part, it denotes the language and touch. So here the language and touch, whatever we talk and we sense are controlled in this region. So visual process. So our eye can see variety of sights here. So the eyesight is controlled by our visual processing. This yellow part helps in hearing, learning and emotions. We show emotions like crying, laughing. So all these are controlled by this part. Whereas if you are seeing these two parts, brown part and the purple part. So these two consist of the hindbrain. So this brown part help in balance and coordination, whereas this purple part help in breathing, heart rate and temperature, controlling the heart rate and temperature. So
The drawing of brain appears to be difficult, but it's very easy to draw. You can see this man sketching the diagram of brain. You can easily draw the diagram. The various parts of the brain are seen, like forebrain, hindbrain and midbrain. You can label the parts likewise.
Hindbrain includes three parts, namely pons, cerebellum and medulla oblongata. So functions of the hindbrain. So let us learn the function of medulla. So in all involuntary actions including blood pressure. So blood pressure is controlled and salivation. In the mouth, salivary gland produces saliva and vomiting. If a person is vomiting or able to control his vomit, those are controlled by medulla in the hindbrain. Then another part, it is cerebellum, controls activities like walking in straight lane, riding a bicycle, picking up a pencil, etc. It is responsible for precision of voluntary actions and maintaining the posture and balance of the body. If a man is walking properly without falling or walking without any hindrance, means his cerebellum part is taking its action so that it is maintaining the posture and balance of the body. How brain is protected? You are seeing the brain which has been protected inside the skull. So what do you call this? The bony box of where brain is protected is called cranium, and this inside the cranium, brain is. So how brain is protected? Brain is protected by the skull. So another name for this bony box or skull is called cranium. So inside the bony box cranium, the brain is surrounded by a cerebrospinal fluid, so which prevents the brain from getting friction following. So which part help in walking in a straight line? Cerebellum. So picking up a pencil involves the cerebellum. So the maintenance of blood pressure is done by the hindbrain. A question is being asked by the teacher in a class is done by the cerebrum part. So change in size of the pupil in response to intensity of light is done by the midbrain.
How plants respond to their environment. Plants produces certain chemical substances called hormones. So plants respond to their environment but do it much more slowly than animals. Shoot is growing towards the sunlight, whereas root grows towards the gravitational force or the soil. Here the shoot, with the help of a support, grows around it. So plants rely entirely on hormones. So like that of animals, nervous system is not found in plants. So the hormones act locally and help in the growth of the plants. Auxin is a type of hormone produced in the plants. It is secreted at the tip of the shoot and root. The produced hormone will be dissolving in the cells, diffuse into all the parts of the plant. At the tip of the shoot, the hormone stimulates the growth, whereas at the tip of the root, it inhibits the growth. Shoot growing towards the light is called phototropism, whereas the growth of the root towards the gravity is called geotropism or gravitropism.
So let us learn how control and coordination takes place in plants. So in plants also we find control and coordination. See, this control and coordination is we find some of the movements in plants. So as the plant grows, it shows certain movement. So here the movements are of two types: movement dependent on growth and movement independent of growth. Here you are seeing a seedling which is growing stepwise manner. So the directional movement of a seedling is caused by growth. You can see all the changes in these phases. So since there is a growth in the seedling. So this is a growth dependent movement. It is a movement dependent on growth. So there is a movement in plant which is independent of the growth. You are seeing a plant of Mimosa pudica or touchpinot plant. Here the growth is already been there, and we are seeing some movements here which is independent of that growth. So when we touch a Mimosa pudica, it folds its leaflets. So why this happens? Here touch is acting like a stimulus. So when we touch the leaflets of the plant that is a touchpinot plant, so it folds its leaflets. So what happens in plants? There is no special tissue for the conduction of information. As we have seen nervous system in animals, there is no nervous system or any special tissues in plants for the control and coordination process. So in plants, so you find some hormones. So what are these hormones? See, hormones are certain chemical substances secreted by some special cells present in the plants. See what happens in the plant, Mimosa pudica. So when we touch the plant, it folds its leaflets. So there is a movement seen here. So this movement is because of the electrical chemical messages. So when we touch the plant, so the cells will be experiencing that touch. So the plant cells change shape. The plant cells change shape by changing the amount of water in them, so resulting in swelling or shrinking, and therefore changing shapes. See, when we touch the Mimosa pudica, the water inside the cells will be moving and comes down. So the upper part becomes lighter and lower part becomes heavier. So this makes the leaflets to close. So we observe certain movements in touchpinot plant. So growth in pea plants. See, pea plant is a tendril or a climber. So when we grow the pea plants, it will be growing around the support. So we place one stick where we grow the pea plants. So when the stick is there, so pea plant, so with the help of that stick, so it feels the stick. So by that sense, when it touches the stick, so the growth takes place. So here this movement is called thigmotrophism. So with the sensation of touch, that tendril grows around that support. So this type of movement can be seen in the pea plants. In plants like pea plants, it climb up other plants or fences by means of tendrils. These tendrils are sensitive to touch. So when they come in contact with any support, the part of the tendril in contact with the object does not grow as rapidly as the part of the tendril away from the objects. So this causes the tendril to circle around the object and thus cling to it. So we have a support here, so the tendril will be growing around it. So the part of the tendril which is attaching to the support will not grow. So the part which is away from that support, this part will be showing growth. So what happens? Growth is seen in that part away from the support. So the growth of the tendril takes place which cling around the support and grows. So growth in pea plants can be observed here. So it is growing with the help of this support. How concentration of auxins stimulate the cells to grow on the side of the shoot which is away from the light. So we see plants which grow towards the light. So this is also another type of movement seen in plants. So what happens in the plant which makes it to grow towards the light? So there are certain chemical substances secreted in the plants. So there is no special tissue called nervous system in plant, so as we have seen in animals, but some meristematic cells will be producing hormones in the plants. The hormones are of two types, growth promoting hormones and growth inhibiting hormones. So in plants, for example, a hormone called auxin is produced where the growth of the plant will be taking place at one region. So it is away from the region where the sunlight falls on the plant. So where the sunlight falls on the plant will be not showing any growth, but the region away from it will be growing. So what happens when the sunlight falls, the plant, the opposite part of the plant will show the growth and the sunlight is coming. So here this part will not be showing any growth and the plant will be growing towards the sunlight. So as we will feel as if the plant is growing towards the sunlight. So this is because of the action of the plant promoting or growth promoting hormones like auxin. So when the light is coming from one side of the plant, auxin diffuses towards shady side of the shoot. This concentration of auxin stimulates the cells to grow longer on the side of the shoot which is away from the light. So thus the plant appears to bend towards the light. So phototropic movement. So in plants we observe phototropism. The growth in the plant part in response to light is called phototropic movement. See, sunlight is coming from this side, so the stem of the plant appears to grow towards the sunlight. So phototropic movement, the flower head of sunflower is positively phototropic and hence it moves from east to west along with the sun. So trophic movement, here the geotrophism is another type of movement seen in the plants. So the growth in the plant part in response to the gravity is called geotropic movement. The positively geotrophism is seen in the roots, whereas negatively geotrophic movement is seen in the shoot system. Here is one activity where we have kept a seedling here, it has grown and you can see the root part here, and we have kept a cup filled with water inside the soil which has been made with the pores. Here the root grows towards the source of water. So this is called hydrotropism. The plants like to move towards the water source. So this is the movement seen in plants where it likes to grow towards the water source. Here is one experiment to demonstrate the concept of hydrotropism. Take two beakers. As you can see here, take two beakers. So one beaker should be filled with water. Now make a cylindrical shaped roll from a filter paper and keep it as a bridge between beaker A and beaker B. You take the filter paper and bend it like a bent tube, and it should be a bridge between two beakers. Attach few germinating seeds in the middle of the filter paper bridge. See here, some germinating seeds has been kept at the middle of this bridge. So what happens? Now cover the entire setup with a transparent plastic container so that the moisture is retained. So what you observe? The roots of the germinating seeds will grow towards the beaker A. So since beaker A consists of water, these germinating seeds will show the growth of roots towards the beaker A, and the growth is not seen towards the beaker B, which is not having the water. Here another type of movement seen in plants called, so chemotropism is another movement seen of chemicals. So when the pollen sits here in the pollination, so it develops the pollen tube. So the pollen tube will be growing. Chemotropism is another type of movement seen in plants where there is a certain chemical secreted in the ovary. Due to that, the pollen develop the pollen tubes. They get attracted towards the chemical secreted in the ovary and grow towards it. So this type of movement seen in the plants is called chemotropism. Plants can be concluded as geotropism, phototropism, hydrotropism, chemotropism and thigmotropism. In plants we see the set of hormones producing called plant hormones or phytohormones. These hormones are chemical compounds which help to coordinate growth, development and response to the environment. So there are two types of hormones, growth promoting hormones and growth inhibiting hormones. So growth promoting hormones are namely auxin, gibberellin and cytokinin, whereas growth inhibiting hormones are abscisic acid and ethylene. Auxins help in growth of the shoot. Gibberellins help in the growth of the stem. Cytokinins promote cell division, whereas abscisic acid inhibits growth. It also helps in the wilting of leaves. See, coming to the chemical coordination in animals, we have learnt about the nervous system which plays very important role in human body. Let us learn what is this chemical coordination. So it takes place with the help of the glandular system. So in human beings we find variety of glands. Let us learn what are all those. So chemical coordination in animals takes place through hormones. So the glands present in the animals produces special type of chemical substances called hormones. So there are several endocrine glands which secrete various kinds of hormones. So endocrine glands, so these secrete chemical substances directly into the bloodstream. So these are called endocrine glands. So these hormones are poured into the blood through which they reach the target tissue or organ to act. For example, insulin is a hormone secreted in the pancreas, so which regulates the blood sugar. So hormones are chemical messengers that regulate the biological processes in living organisms. So what are the characteristics of hormones? Hormones are directly released into the blood. They are released in very little quantity. They act on specific tissues or organs. So they are generally slow in action. They act away from the site of production. So what are target organs? Target organs are the specific tissues on which hormones act. Let us learn the first type of gland, that is adrenal gland. So it is located above each kidney. You can see the triangular shaped adrenal glands here. It secretes a hormone called adrenaline. So adrenaline is secreted, will be acting on the heart. The heart beats faster, resulting in supply of more oxygen to our muscles. See why heart should beat faster. So adrenaline hormone is called the emergency hormone. So whenever a person feels very frightened or is in fear or anxiety, so immediately the adrenal gland will secrete the hormone adrenaline. Heart beats faster, resulting in the supply of more oxygen to the muscles. So the blood to the digestive system and the skin is reduced due to contraction of muscles around small arteries in these organs. This diverts blood to our skeletal muscles. The breathing rate also increases because of the contractions of the diaphragm and the rib muscles. So all these responses together enable the animal body to be ready to deal with the situation. So whenever there is a fear or anxiety, a person boy was followed by a stray dog. He got frightened and started running. So name the hormone that prepared him to escape from the stray dog. That is the adrenaline. Locate the position of the gland in our body which secretes this hormone. So adrenal gland. Mention two effects of this hormone in the human body. The heart starts beating faster, so more amount of oxygen is supplied to the muscles. Second hormone or second gland is the thyroid gland. Thyroid gland is located in the neck region. It secretes a hormone called thyroxine. Thyroxine regulates carbohydrate, protein and fat metabolism in the body so as to provide the best balance for growth. So what happens if thyroxine is not secreted properly? So deficiency of thyroxine causes a disease called goiter. It is caused by the deficiency of the mineral called iodine in our diet. So you are seeing a person suffering from this goiter. So goiter is swelling in the neck caused due to enlarged thyroid gland. So what we should do to avoid this deficiency of thyroxine? We should take salt in our food. We should apply. Iodine is necessary for the thyroid gland to make thyroxine hormone. Deficiency of iodine in our diet causes goiter. To reduce the occurrence of goiter, it is made mandatory to use iodized salt. Next gland is pituitary gland. So pituitary gland is located at the base of the brain. You can see the pituitary gland here. It produces a hormone called growth hormone. Growth hormone regulates growth and development of the body. So puberty is a period between 10 to 12 years of age during which there are physical changes in boys and girls. So dwarfism is a condition caused due to deficiency of growth hormone in childhood. You can see dwarfism in children due to the deficiency of the growth hormone. Or what happens if the growth hormone is secreted in large quantity? So here a person becomes extremely large sized. So this condition is called gigantism. Gigantism is a condition caused due to over secretion of growth hormone in childhood. So these are the two hormones secreted in the genital organs or the gonads. Testosterone is the hormone produced in males. It causes changes in appearance during puberty. Whereas estrogen is a hormone produced in females. It causes changes in the appearance during puberty. Pancreas is another gland which produces a hormone called insulin. Insulin helps in regulating the blood sugar level in the human body. You are seeing the pancreas here, which secretes a very important hormone called insulin. See how is the secretion of insulin regulated? If the sugar level in blood rise, they are detected by the cells of the pancreas which respond by producing more insulin. So as the blood sugar level falls, insulin secretion is reduced. So if there is a deficiency of the hormone like insulin in pancreas, person will going to suffer from a disease called diabetes. Diabetes is a disease caused due to low secretion of insulin. Some cases